Welcome to the Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by Play Picks and the Lines, coming to you from the West Coast. Josh Lander, joined by my guy Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. And it's time for our favorite video of each and every weekday, our player props video that we love to bring you. Got a nice 9-game slate up tonight for you to choose from. Make sure you do check out Nate's great article up on playpicks.com with some best bets and player props in there. And like and subscribe to that page, as we got a couple other game videos up for you on this big slate tonight. And make sure you are on thelines.com as well, checking out that props finder where we have the best available odds for you for all your player props and team props over there on thelines.com with some great stuff there for you. And as always, if you do still need a FanDuel or DraftKings account, head to fdpicks.com or dkpicks.com and find those listings in your area, such as what we've got for tonight's player props. Nate, let's get into it.
Yeah, I know he came up short 2 nights ago, but I'm going back to CJ McCollum here. Now his prop is 2 points lower at 22.5. You know, he was on pace to get well over 24.5 against those Kings, but for the second consecutive game, the Pelicans won by about 30. They've blown out the Lakers and Kings now in consecutive games. There's almost no chance that they blow out the Jazz tonight, with Utah actually favored by 4 points coming into New Orleans. So 22.5 points seems like a very safe bet. Utah, while they've been on fire offensively, per usual, with Donnie Mitchell back, they have the 4th worst defensive rating over their last 4 road games at 120. Wow. And the Pelicans, as we know, have been scorching since they integrated CJ in 7 games. Following his debut with the Pels, he's averaging 28.5 points and 6 assists with a 132 offensive rating. Shooting splits are even better in New Orleans in 5 games at 55, 46, 81%. He's taken a step back in his last 2, as I mentioned, even before that those games got out of hand, with a 22% usage rate. Still getting 17 dimes, though, as Brandon Ingram kind of went off. Yeah. So you could consider the 27.5 points and assists about the same, minus 115 or so. I'm fine with the points, though, here. I'm fine even taking a 25 plus here. You get plus money on DraftKings or FanDuel if you take the 25 plus instead of just 23. Because, I don't think Brandon Ingram's going off against the Jazz. They've kind of had his number recently. He's getting 21 points on gross 7 for 32 field goal shooting his last 2 against Utah. I expect him to bounce back as well. I expect this to be a close game and a high-scoring game, and one that you're going to want to have some exposure to with your props.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm fine with the 25 plus, getting a little bit more there, plus 136 on your money for CJ. I like the assist for him too. I think he'll continue to play that role. But part of the reason he had so many assists last game was because BI was going off, right? And he was diming out to him. He had over 30 in that one. Not going to be the case tonight, probably, as you mentioned, for BI, as that's a position that the Jazz are actually a little bit better at scoring. I mean, he'll be playing from outside a little bit more. Won't have to deal with Rudy too much, but when he does get down low, that's where he's a little bit less effective now against those Jazz. So I think CJ coming in from the top of the key, where they're a lot more vulnerable, are the Jazz, feels really good tonight. He'll get back on track. Those 28 a game for this team, I think that's consistently where he'll remain moving forward. So one that I feel so good about, I can't believe we found Darius Garland for 20.5 points right now. Gets you even money at DraftKings. I repeat, 20.5 points for Darius Garland. If he goes over that, is even money at DraftKings. You could talk about the points, rebounds, and assists for him. That's 32.5, minus 108. That is at FanDuel for Darius Garland. I really love the points here. You also wrote down here this beautiful special that they have at DK right now, where you can get plus 135 for him to get 30 plus points and assists combined. He's diming and scoring at a great rate. In his last 5, he's at 28 points a game with 5 assists, 4 boards in there as well, shooting just a blistering 57 from the field, 51 from 3, with a usage rate of about 35.5%. I mean, he is the focal point of their offense and has become even more so that as of late, especially with Karis LeVert missing some games recently. In his last 6 on the road, Garland's talking about 27 points a game with 9 assists in that time as well. Gets you well over that 32 or that 30 points and assists combined. Also against Philly, he's only played them once this season, but but we're talking 27 points in 27 minutes makes you want to go, oh, baby. I mean, that's as efficient as you could possibly be for him, on splits of about 48-50. He went 3 for 6 from deep. This Philly team has a really very impressive defensive stats since the trade for James Harden, but that is because they have played against a Wolves team on the second leg of a back-to-back with a bunch of players missing, and then the Knicks twice, which will always help your defensive rating when you play that team this season. So Darius Garland is a lock for me. I'm going to smack that over 20.5 points for even money for sure, and feel really good about that.
Yeah, hopefully the Cavs don't let us down tonight. We're hoping that they show a little more fight than the Knicks, who actually, were leading at half against the Sixers in that last game, helped that one go over. Yeah. But the Cavs are going to have to score a lot tonight in Philly. There's no way they're going to be able to just shut down that highly efficient offense. And so if they're scoring, Garland is going to be at the center of everything. You think he could cruise past this? In his last 5, he's averaging 8 more points than this prop. So you are right. Yeah. It's been set a little too low here. I guess because we're overvaluing the Sixers defense after those Knicks games. Not getting as much value, but do feel very confident about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander going over with the Wolves coming to town. As we know, the Wolves are over machines on the road, 25-7 this season to the over, and 10-2 when they're road favorites, and they're favored by nearly 10 points this season. SGA has come back from his ankle injury 4 games now, averaging 33.5 and 6.3 assists per game. Actually has 25 turnovers to go along with his 25 assists, but the Thunder are not going to be taking him off the floor or taking the ball out of his hands. He's got a 38% usage rate in those games, and now in 6 games without Josh Giddey, who's out tonight, along with Lou Dort. SGA has a 39% usage rate. In his last 2 at home, 34.5 points, 7.5 assists in that span. He does have some poor splits against Minnesota. 2 meetings this season, it was a blowout loss and then a very low-scoring game that the Thunder have kind of shifted away from that kind of low-scoring snail's pace. SGA also had a low 24% usage rate in those games. And then last season, you look at a 34% usage rate in consecutive meetings with the Wolves, 31 points in both of those games. So, again, Wolves give up the most assists and the second most points on the road. SGA scoring about a third of his team's points at this point. So I think he gets over 28 right now. 27.5 is minus 120. You can get better odds if you add the assists at 35.5. So I'm fine with either of those bets. Fine with looking for where the odds you get for him to get 30 points, honestly, in a game that has a 232 total.
Yeah, 232 total, which makes you feel like we're right on track with the fact that the Thunder have turned around their ways a little bit. They're still a pretty good defensive team, but yeah, they've actually been able to score a bit more. As a self-proclaimed Thunder fan, it's just because I love Dort, SGA, and Giddey so much. I'm a little bit worried about their ability to all play together when you look at how much better they've been with just SGA on the floor, not playing with Giddey, who's a dimer. So it's weird that they're not playing well together. But obviously SGA is one of those scoring guards that needs the ball in his hand. And without Giddey tonight, I feel really, really great once again going back to him to get close to 30. I'm just going to go ahead and hit the points of 27.5. I know that's not the best value there, but I think he's likely to get close to 30. And I'll just play it safe tonight with him in this one, just because of the weird stats against Minnesota earlier in the season where they had those weird low scoring games. But feel good about the points either way. So lastly, I'm going to go to a guy and take another under here. Maybe not as fun as the overs, but I think you got to look at Jokic playing against the Rockets tonight, which makes you go, why would you take the under? This is the worst defensive team in the league is the Rockets. And I would say, yes, you're right. They are. But they're also probably going to get blown out tonight in a 13.5 point spread, which is what you would have said the Nuggets would do the other night against the Thunder when they were favored by the same amount of points and they did not win that game, which is actually why I think they're more likely to win this one tonight. I think they come out hot and really just try to make a statement real quick to get this one out of hand against the Rockets. You look at what Joker's done since the All-Star break, which, by the way, his points sits at 26.5 tonight. I would go under there. His points, rebounds, and assists combined 49.5 also would go under there. And the reason being, last 4 since the All-Star break, we're talking 18 points a game, 14 boards, always going to get those, and then 9 assists in those games as well. 52, 14 splits. He's not even making 1-3 a game on about 3.5, 4 attempts so far in that time span. His minutes are down a bit, 30 minutes per game. game. And this is the most telling thing, which is why I really like the points under, is his usage rate is down to 24% in the last 4 since the All-Star break, down from 30% on the season, right? That's huge for him. And in the last 2 games they played against Houston this season, we're talking 26 points, 12 boards, and 2 assists in 30 minutes a game. That's, they blew him out by 13 in one game. They were up by more than that earlier. And then they only won by 1 earlier in the season, back in November. And Jokic was still getting below those totals that we're looking at here tonight. So I think the points I feel great about because of the fact that, he hasn't done that since the All-Star break. And then the points, rebounds, and assists, I think he's going to get those boards for sure. I mean, Houston's a horrible rebounding team. But I think when you put it all together, he shouldn't play more than 30 minutes in this game, which leads you to go, that's not enough time to get those insane stats, no matter who you are.
Yeah, it's just sort of a strategic throttle down, it seems like, from the Nuggets with Jokic, who carried such a huge load to get them in this playoff position. But then you look at what's happening with the rest of the Western Conference and nobody really threatening to escape the play-in round right now. The Nuggets don't really have to fight that hard for their seeding. They know help is on the way with Murray and Michael Porter. And they've added help for Jokic in terms of Boogie Cousins. So that's the biggest reason I think his usage rate is down, his scoring is down, because in the last 2 wins, easy wins over the Kings and Blazers, Boogie's come off the bench with a 38% usage rate, and Jokic can just kind of watch and say like, oh, yep, thank you for handling that for me because I need some rest. And he had all of 8 points in their last blowout win at Portland. So, hopefully the Nuggets just take care of business at home after they blew it against the Thunder. You think they come out with a bit of renewed focus and actually try to, win this one by double digits.
Yeah, and 100% right. I think everything you said is a great call. I mean, they're looking at what's happening around the rest of the West and going, we don't need to play Joker more than 30 minutes a game. Then you talk about Boogie Cousins coming in. I love when teams get a backup center who does the same thing that their starting center does. And when Boogie's playing at his best, he's a really good back-to-the-basket passing big man who can also back people down with some pretty decent footwork. I mean, he's definitely nowhere near Nikola Jokic, especially these days. But obviously, the style of play remains the same, and that bodes really well for this team who needs someone else to gobble up some of those minutes. So that is all the time we have for you in this player props vid. Make sure you are liked and subscribed to that page. Check out those other couple game videos we have up for you tonight on this big 9-game slate. And until we see you next, happy betting.